all goes to Prabhupada, all goes to you. So,
Hare Krishna.
So the floor is yours.
I'm very happy to be here with all the devotees of New Zealand by this process called Zoom. These days we've been going all over the world without flying. And we're very happy. New Zealand is one of my favorite places. So we're very happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. So next month, Kartik, in the middle of Kartik, there's Govardhan Puja. So this is one of my favorite topics. So today, without ticket, without visa, without lockdown, we're going to take you to Govardhan. Hello, Giriraj Maharaj ki. So before we start, we'll begin the nice bhajan that Srila Prabhupada always used to sing before giving his lectures all over the world. Very simple bhajan, simply made of Krishna's names. It's not like Narottam Das Thakur where there's some manasa shiksha instructions to the mind. Not like other Hindi or Brishbhasa songs we sing that tell the story. Nanda Gwalavan Sangadenu Charai. Krishna's herding the cows. Just names of God. But these names of God are made in such a way that whole picture of Vrindavan comes. First, Radha Madhav is there, then all the kunjas are there, all the gopis are there, Gopi Jana Ballava, Giri Varadari, Govardhan is there, Yasoda Mataji is there, all the Brishbasis are there, and all the 12 forests. Jamuna is there, most important. And right now, Jamuna, we're seeing Jamuna's real roop. We never see all year long, but she's so. Yesterday I went by the Jamuna, and she was so full, so beautiful darshan. So. And all the forests, Vanachari, all the forests, 12 forests have been done. So, unfortunately, there's some gaps, so you won't be able to sing along with me. You just listen and hear, or you won't be able to respond anyway. So please remain on mute, otherwise it's a disturbance. Madhva Kunjabihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodandana Prajajanandana Yasodandana Prajajanandana Jamuna Iravanachari Yamuna Iravanachari Radha Madhav Kunjabihari Radha Madhav Kunjabihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Baladhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Baladhari Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Jamuna Shiravanachari Yamuna Shiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaladhari Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Giri Govardhan 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Sri Sri Radha Madhava Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Bolo Giraj Maharaj Ki Jai. So we hope you all are very safe and sound wherever you are. I'm sure people besides New Zealanders are joining in. So we hope that you're very safe and sound during this lockdown, or not now lockdown, during this pandemic. It's almost over. At least here, nobody knows. Nobody wears masks anymore in the temple room. It was crowded like anything. So anyway, today we're going to, from Sri Vrindavan Dham, or wherever you're sitting, we're going to take you to the foot of Sri Govardhan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamaya Tati Swapadantikam Ardhanastrinandantai Ridam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padam Bhusho Divyam Janma Janmani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhu vevacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So on Govardhan, halfway around the Prikrama path, it's not halfway around, we're on one side, it's a little more than half actually. It's Dangati, the town of Govardhan is a halfway point. But quite a ways down from Manasi Ganga, we come to a village called Anior. And there we see Govardhan is standing very tall and proud. Because we first get to Govardhan right around Kusum Sarovar, we're a little disappointed because we don't see any hills. But there he's standing very proud. And today is very special because Giriraj heard that people have come all the way from New Zealand to hear about me. So all his hairs in the form of trees are standing on him. We're getting very special darshan today. So just from Anur village back down the same way back down the Prikrama path where we came, that whole area is called Anukut Kshetra. So there, Nanda Baba was organizing some sort of sacrifice. So Nanda Lala came there and said, Baba, what is the sacrifice that you're organizing? What is the purpose of this sacrifice? What is the purpose of the sacrifice? What is this a yearly thing or is this occasional thing? For what reason do we perform this sacrifice? But Baba was very busy. Because little boys, they ask too many questions. So sometimes we just ignore them. So Nanda Lala, he tugged on Baba's kurta and he said, Baba, this is not fair. From outsiders, we may keep secrets, but from the family members, we never keep secrets. Please tell me all about this yajna that you're about to perform. Nanda Baba said, Lala, this is, sometimes we perform this Indra Puja. Because we're dependent on the cows. The cows are dependent on nice grass. The grass is dependent on so many rains. And rains are the grace of Lord Indra. So this is Indra Puja. And now suddenly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself began to preach atheism. But Baba, no need to worship any Indra or anyone. The rain is falling on the sea, it's falling on the rocks, it's falling anyway. Who's doing puja for the rain to fall in the ocean? We just do our work and the rain will come. This is very famous philosophy in India. People say, work is worship, deity is duty. You just have to perform your duty, the rains will come. No need to perform this Indra Puja. Actually, this Govardhan is supplying so nice water for all our cows and so nice grasses for all of us. He's supplying us with everything. We should rather worship Govardhan Hill. The Nanda Baba says, look, Lala, since you're telling, we'll do a separate puja for Govardhan. But right now we've started this, the preparations are going on. So we've started this Indra Puja. No, Baba, it took a long time to collect all these grains and ghee to do this sacrifice. Better we just worship Govardhan Hill. So Krishna was insisting and insisting. Now Nanda Baba, he cannot resist the insisting of Krishna. So he agreed, all right, we'll do this Govardhan Puja. And Krishna said, you must do it like this. You must make mountains and mountains of rice and mountains of pots of gulab jamans, made from milk from the cows and made from the ghee that comes from the milk. And mountains of paneer sabji, and mountains of kachoris. Your mouth is watering, huh? You have to wait a little while. Go over to puja's coming in. That's long. Huh? Make mountains of everything. Which actually kut means mountain. Just like we know that Sita and Ram, they lived in a very beautiful forest, right on the foot of a beautiful mountain called Chitrakoot. So Kut means mountain. So he said, you make mountains of all these. You make lakes full of sweet rice and lakes full of nectar. And you do all these things. These are all milk products, most of them except for the rice and the puris. You make all of these things. Do it like this. Otherwise, there's many snakes on Govardhan Hill. And anyone who doesn't perform Govardhan Puja, as I have told, he will be bitten by those snakes. And I have seen one time when I was younger and used to do Govardhan Prikrama by foot, we were going along and this young Brishbasi boy was calling us on nearby the hill. So we went to see what he was looking at. There's a big black cobra. But he looked at us. He saw that we did Govardhan Puja. So he just crawled and went into his hole. He just crawled away. He said, oh, these people did Govardhan Puja. So he just crawled away and went into his hole. So I hope you've all done your Govardhan Puja every year so that you won't be bitten by the big snakes, big black snakes on Govardhan. So then, the Brishbasis, they offered all of this to Govardhan. And suddenly, Govardhan assumed a big form as Krishna, separate from the little Krishna. And Krishna said, just see how Govardhan has assumed this form to accept all your offerings. Did your Indra ever come? Did he ever come? He ever show himself? You never saw. We heard Govardhan has personally come to accept your offerings. Then the hill made a nice asan. And first of all, he sat down. And then Krishna bowed down and he told all the Brajavasis. So Balaram and all the Brajavasis, he also bowed down before this form. Then he looked at all this boga. Oh my goodness. So much nice foodstuffs right here. So he began to eat everything. And since he's a little boy, he doesn't know what his right hand, what his left hand. So he began to eat with both hands. In fact, he suddenly manifested dozens of left hands and dozens of right hands. If you ever go to the Janmastan in Mathura, in the ceiling of the temple, they have a picture like this. The Brishbasis are doing Govardhan Puja, and Krishna is sitting there with dozens of left and right hands and eating everything. So in a very little while, he just finished everything off. Then he began to cry, Anior, Anior, give me more, give me more. Give me more. Just like even today, the Brishbasis are all following their leader. Yadhyadacharasti Shreshtas, whatever the great man does, you give them 50 rupees, they want 100. You give 100, they want 500. You give 500, they want 1,000. Oh, now they don't have 1,000. You have to give 2,000. They're following Krishna's footsteps. And all the Brishbasis came forward and said, but everything we cooked, it's all been, everything we made is already, our stock is finished. There's nothing left. You please be satisfied. Aniyor, Aniyor, give me more, give me more. So then Krishna came and he began to shrug his shoulders. But Baba, everything we had, we cooked. There's nothing left. You please be satisfied. Aniyor, 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 give me more. So then some Brahmins came and they put some nice, fresh, soft, delicate tulsi manjaris in Krishna's hand. And Krishna offered all those tulsi manjaris to Govardhana. Because actually when it says that we should offer the bhoga with tulsi leaves, it actually meant that manjari and the tulsi leaves beside it. I see all the Vaishnavas in Vrindavan, they follow like that. They offer this manjari with the tulsi leaves below it. Only that season when there's no manjaris available, they offer the leaves. So this is the proper way to do the puja. So then Govardhan, he took those tulsi manjaris from Krishna's hand and whoop, he popped them all in his mouth. Then he said, Triptos me, Triptos me, Triptos me. Now I'm fully satisfied. Maybe you've heard some recording where Prabhupada talks about fully satisfied. Then you can understand what full satisfaction is. So when Govardhan was fully satisfied, all the mountains of rice, mountains of puris, mountains of pots of gulab jamans, mountains of baskets of kachoris, and mountains of rasgullas, and baskets full of sandesh, and paneer sabji, and all these things, the lakes of sweet rice, everything remanifested itself. So then, all the Brishvasis were very happy, and they had a big feast, and they fed everyone, even to the dog eaters, chandalas, even to the dogs. And Prabhupada says in that purport that even they tossed the prasadam to one another, and sometimes it fell on the ground. And just to prove that prasadam is never contaminated, they would pick it up off the ground and eat it with great joy. In this way, they had a big feast. And then taking all the cows with them in front, they all circumambulated Govardhan Hill. So Little Head is a place called, even today, that village is called Aniyor, after this pastime. And just beside the village is a beautiful lake called Sankarshan Kund. Sankarshan Kund. And it used to be just a dumpy place, trash, and untaken care of it completely. But this Braj Foundation has taken it and made beautiful, beautiful ghats and landscaping and everything. It's such a wonderful place now. And from South India, some Brahmins came and they established a 30-foot murti of Sankarshan. Why Sankarshan is there? And why in the middle of the village is the temple of Balaram, Dauji? Right in the middle of the village. Big, tall Dauji and little tiny Kanaya. Well, the villagers tell me that when Krishna lifted the hill that we're getting to, it was completely empty. There was a big empty hole under the hill. And Balaram, he was thinking, everybody's glorifying Krishna for holding up the hill, but I'm the older brother. Why nobody's glorifying me? So we know Balaram's another form as Ananta Shesh. He took his form as Ananta Shesh and made his coils around the bottom of the hill so no water would come inside. That's what the villagers tell me. So there's Dauji Mandir and Sakarshan. Then we come to Govindakund. It's finally Indra realized that his puja was stopped. He became very upset. So he called the Sambardika. Sambardika cloud is called when there's need of destruction of the universe, very heavy clouds. And he said, go to Braj and destroy the Brishbasis along with their cows. We'll show them a lesson. Such a big opera, destroy the Brishbasis and the cows. We just do little operas, but that was a maha opera. So then suddenly over Braj, it became very dark. And big black clouds began to appear. And suddenly rain, it became just as dark as nighttime. And rain began to fall. Rain began to fall. A cold wind was blowing. Cold wind was blowing. And pieces of ice even were falling. And everyone in Braj was suffering. So then, when the Brishbasis are in distress, they only know Krishna. So they all ran to Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Mahabaho, Natvam Natham Gokulam Prabhu, Tratum Arasi Devana, Upitad Bhaktavatsala. Oh, Krishna, Mahabaho, you have big arms. Tvam Natham Gokulam Prabhu. You're the Prabhu and Master and Nath, Lord of Gokul. Tratumarasi Devana. Kupitad Bhaktavatsala. Kupitad means he's this Deva, he's become angry with us. So Tratam, please save us. You are also known as Bhaktavatsala, so please save us. Because the Brishbasis are in trouble, they don't know anything about Krishna. So then Krishna told them just 1 minute. And in his Tika, Sanatana Goswami says, actually Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill with his left hand. If we're going to do some hard work, then naturally use our right hand. But just to show it was nothing, Krishna lifted a whole hill with his left hand. And then Sanatana Goswami explains that when he saw that Madhya Soda was frightened, then he put it on his little pinky. Then he put his little finger. Just like we're learning to ride our bike, and mother's watching from the kitchen, then we take our hands off the handlebars. Look, Ma, no hands. We're showing up. Look, Ma, it's no problem. So he lifted up Govardhan Hill and called all the Brishbasis to come underneath with their cows. The most amazing thing is, we get these details from Ananda Vrindavan Champu and Gopal Champu. Most amazing thing was, underneath, we just show in our pictures. In our pictures, we usually show it's all empty, excuse me, empty under the hill. But in Gopal Champu describes that there was a beautiful place underneath the hill. With beautiful parks and gardens and flowering trees and lakes full of fresh water. It was a wonderful place underneath the hill. All the Brishbasis were struck with wonder. Where did this place come from? And they were astonished to see Krishna was holding up the hill with his little finger. So all the Brishbasis, they put their coward sticks. And Mother Yasoda was massaging Lala's arm. Lala, you're not tired? I said, no, Mom. Giriraj is staying there by his own will. It's not a problem. And Mother Mangal came. No. By my Brahminical Tejas, the hill is staying up there. I'm chanting my Brahminical mantras, and by my power, the hill is staying. You don't need to worry about anything. And this was a special pastime. Because nobody got to see Krishna all the time. In the morning, Nanda and Yasoda, they see Krishna when they wake him up and get him take his bath. Then all his friends come to help him get dressed. So all his close friends see him. Then he goes through the village to herd the cows, and all the villagers, especially the gopis, climb to the roofs, they see him. Then he's with the cowherd boys all day long. Then nighttime, he comes to the village, everyone gets to see him. And then he goes home and only his close friends, and finally at night, Nanda Baba and Yasoda see. But nobody sees Krishna all the time. So Krishna manufactured this pastime just so everybody in Braj could see Krishna 24 hours a day by 7 days, day and night. And they weren't tired, not like us, we're always falling asleep in Bhagavatam class. They weren't hungry, they weren't worried about anything. They were just relishing the beautiful glow of the moon-like face of Krishna. After some time, Mother Yasoda said, Lala, you're not hungry? You want some butter, Lala, to help you hold up the hill? And Lala said, Ma, it's okay, no need. And Mother Mangal said, wait a minute. You bring that butter for me. So like this for 7 days and 7 nights. And the Brishbasi didn't feel tired or anything. They're just seeing the moonlight face of Krishna. So then Indra came. To see what was going on. And he was very angry. He was saying, these foolish Brishbasi are listening to this talkative fellow. Vachalam means talkative. But if we see this Sanskrit, because by grace of Mother Saraswati, all the words that Indra used became benedictions instead of criticisms. Vachalam means who speaks by Vedic authority. Balisam means he's childish. But in other words, Balisam means he's very strong. They said, Indra said, Panditamanina, that he thinks himself very great, very learned. But from another view, the Sanskrit says he thinks, not he thinks, but other scholars honor him. Other great Vedic scholars even honor him. Stambam. Oh, he's very stubborn. What stubborn means, or arrogant, stubborn means arrogant. From another views, it means that he's, that no one bows down to him because he's the highest thing there is. Martyam, he's just a human being. But Martyam means just the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his mercy, is performing human-like pastimes. In this way, all the curses of Indra became benedictions. But then he saw what was going on. His thunderbolts were bouncing off Govardhan Hill, and Krishna was underneath, holding the hill, and all the Brishbasis, they're having a good time. Then he realized, uh-oh, I did a big boo-boo. So, he went to the clouds. He said, get scarce, get out of here. Get out of here, quick, we're in trouble. So then suddenly the sky cleared up, the sun came out, cool breezes were blowing. Then Krishna placed the hill. He told all the Brishbasis, now you can take your cows and go outside. And so all the Brishbasis, they went outside. And Krishna very carefully placed the hill exactly like it was. And now Krishna had become known as Giridhari, the one who held Govardhan on his little finger. Hello, Sri Giraj Maharaj Ki. And all the Brishbasis were seeing the glories of Krishna like anything. So meanwhile, Indra, he went back to his Indraloka. He was very worried. He was sitting on his throne, sometimes sitting this way. Sachi Devi can see he's in a bad mood, better not go. He's in a bad mood. So she went to Guru. Guru can go. She can't go, but Guru can go. So she went to Brihaspati. He said, I don't know. He doesn't come home. He doesn't eat. He doesn't talk to me. Especially when the man becomes quiet, the woman can't stand it for anything. And the man, on the other hand, when the woman doesn't stop talking, he can't stand that either. But there's a trick to be learned here. We'll have sociology class for a minute here. When a woman has a problem, she talks about it. And by talking, it's a scientific fact. They produce certain hormones that make them feel happy. So they talk about their problem. And you're listening, and you know there's no solution to this problem. You know, we're in lockdown, business is failing. What can you do? There's nothing you can do. Whatever you do, don't use these words. It's not that bad. If you use those words, then you've got a fight on your hands. She's feeling bad, and you're saying that she has no right. You're not supporting her. She has no right to feel bad. She doesn't want a solution, just wants you to listen. When she talks her way out, then she feels happy, and then she loves you like anything. But a man, he's different. When he's got a problem, he becomes quiet. And women are very intuitive. They know there's a problem. And they go, don't bother me. That's what you'll get if you bother him. But the man, he's a man. He's got to solve his problem himself. And you didn't bother him. He solved his problem. He'll feel very happy, and he'll love you like anything. This is a trick from this pastime. So Sachi Devi, no, he's in a bad mood, better not go. So she sent Guru. Brihaspati went there and said, what's the matter? And he told Brihaspati what happened. Brihaspati said, oh my God, you really blew it. You're in big trouble. Only thing you can do is you take shelter of a devotee. and especially of a cow. This Surbi from the Golok Dham, she's a very nice devotee, and she's so favored of Krishna. And this is our position. We're big offenders. We can't go to Krishna directly. We need a nice, pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada to intervene for us. He said, you take this Surbi cow and beg forgiveness. Then he'll let you off this time. So Indra went back down with Surbi. Meanwhile, the cowherd boys, they were examining what happened after the Govardhan, after this huge rain. What happened to Braj? And of course, we know Braj was totally untouched. So Krishna was on his inspection tour with all his cowherd boyfriends. Yad yada charity shreshtas. Whatever the great man does, the common men will follow. So everybody's following Krishna. As soon as there's a tsunami or something, then the chief minister flies in on his helicopter to see what's going on. They're all following Krishna. Krishna was doing inspection tour. And Indra came on the other side of the hill, a beautiful place called Surbikund, where all our offenses are forgiven. So Indra came, and as soon as the cows, they took one look at that Airavata, not just one trunk, but many, 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 many trunks, and so huge. And you're seeing cows' eyes are big and brown, but they became even bigger. And the ears went up. They're always hanging down, but the ears went up. Then they began to run. You guys live all in cities, so you don't know, but when cows run, they put their tail in the sky as a warning to all the other cows. And they were kicking backwards, this way and that way, kicking this way and that way. So all the cows put their tails in the sky and began to run away, and all the cowherd boys ran after the cows. So the Indra came to Krishna. Actually, first he said, he paid his obeisances. The King of Heaven, with his big helmet and head and everything, rolling in the dust of Braj. And Krishna didn't even look at him from the corner of the corner of the corner of the corner of his lotus eye. So then he sent Surbi. And Surbi said, actually, Indra's your devotee. He got a little puffed up, but he's sorry. Just like the children, they do so many rascal things, but the parents always forgive them. So he's like your child. You should forgive him. In this way, Surbi intervened. So then back to Govindakund. Then that Surbi cow went up to the, Airavata went up to the heavenly planets, to the Akash Ganga. Not this Ganga that flows here where simple people like you and me bathe in. It's Akash Ganga in the Devalok. And brought transcendental water from the Akash Ganga. And Surbi, right from her udder, she was pouring milk on Krishna. And they performed this beautiful Abhishek ceremony of Krishna. And all the demigods came, the Gandharvas were singing, the Kinnaras were playing musical instruments, the Apsaras, they were all trained up by Indraduna Maharaj, so they were dancing very sweetly. And all the demigods came, even Chandrama came with this beautiful lotus flower. But just then the sun came. As soon as the lotus flower, if you live in Braj, you know at night, all the lotuses, flowers, not the lilies close at night. So they all the lotuses closed up when they saw the sun. All the lilies closed up. Because lotuses close at night, but the lilies open in the nighttime. And everyone was glorifying Krishna. Beautiful Abhishek ceremony was going on. And all the water poured into Govinda Kund. All the Abhishek water and milk poured into Govinda Kund. So then Indra, he took a big crown and he crowned Krishna as Govinda. Before he was known as Gopal, from this day he became known as Govinda. There's a secret meaning that Jiva Goswami explains in Gopal Chandra. Just like somebody we call Narendra, like at the end of Loy Bazaar, there's Gangoti shop run by Narendra. The Indra amongst the Nar, the king, the Indra amongst the humans is the king. Yogendra, the greatest of the yogis. So Govinda means the king of the cows. Actually, all the 33 crores of demigods live within the body of the cow. So by becoming the king of the cow, Indra automatically becomes subordinate. Krishna becomes the king of Indra and all the demigods. And they gave him nice cloth, and they began to sing. The Gandharvas were singing very beautiful. They did beautiful Artik ceremony. And they had solid gold deeps. And chamaras covered with silver and gold and peacock fans with emeralds and pearls and rubies encrusted in the handle. In this way, they did this beautiful Artik ceremony for Krishna. And they were singing these Vedic stutis. All the Brahmins were chanting very nicely. With all rhyme. Sahasrasirtas Purusa. They were all chanting very nicely the mantras. And Krishna was sitting there and he was going like this. So then they knew that Krishna is satisfied. So they paid their obeisances and left. Meanwhile, the cowherd boys came back and they saw Krishna sitting there with this big crown. And they saw all this opulent Artik paraphernalia, gold deeps, silver colored conch shells, silver handled chamaras, gold handled peacock fans, all this very opulent Artik paraphernalia. So they're just little boys, they all began to pick it up and perform Artik, little play Artik. And they were just doing a little play Artik. And then they weren't even chanting Vedic stuti, it's just their Brishbasi songs. Arati Kunja Bihari Ki Sri Giridhari Krishna Murari Ki. And they're not even singing on tune. They're not even singing on tune. Bengalis have very beautiful voices, but the Brishbasis, sometimes they don't have such beautiful voices. And Krishna was just laughing and laughing, enjoying like an idiot. The demigods were watching from the crowds, and they said, Krishna was just officially accepting our offering. Just like sometimes they're opening up a new bridge in the city, and the mayor comes, he smiles with a plastic smile for all the cameras, they take pictures, he cuts the ribbon. Very, very inauspicious, sharp scissors to inaugurate something. The It's all official. He'd rather be off somewhere enjoying, but he has to think of the boats. So he comes out and makes a show. But here, we don't have a pinch of love like these Brishvasis. We don't have a pinch of love like these Brishvasis. Krishna is actually accepting their arti. Then Nanda Baba and all the senior Brishvasis, they heard something funny is going on in Govardhan. Gold and silver and pearl and diamond and ruby. Oh, first this guy is stealing butter. Now what is he up to? And they came there and they saw all this opulent Arctic paraphernalia. And they asked the Kaur, where did you get all this stuff? Well, we just found it. Right. All this gold and silver and pearl that you just found. Just like the father comes home at night, there's a big mess in the house from one end to the other. Who made this? Just happened, Baba. Just happened, Peter. Right, it just happened. Right, you just found all this. Then Mother Mangal piped up. Said, no, Baba, I saw everything. They didn't see Baba because this elephant came. Oh, Baba, I never saw an elephant like that. With so many trunks and so huge. And all the cows, they saw that elephant and they ran away. And we went chasing after them. We don't know what happened. We just came back and found all this stuff. We don't know what happened. So I'm lame. I was sitting in the forest. I saw everything happen. I saw Baba. I'm not, then Baba, this guy got off that elephant. I swear to God, Baba, hope, cross my whole heart, hope to die. Baba. He had eyes all over his whole body, Baba. Then this guy came with 4 heads, Baba. This guy came with a big snake around his neck. And all these people came and they were singing. Oh, Baba, I never heard songs like that. And these other guys were playing musical instruments. Oh, Baba, we never saw instruments like that. Then these girls came, Baba. Oh, Baba, I never saw girls like that before. And they were dancing, Baba. I'm not telling a lie, Baba. I saw it all. They don't know, Baba. I saw it all. Then a voice from the sky said, Nanda Baba, you take this crown and crown Krishna as Govinda. So Nanda Baba took that crown and he crowned Krishna as Govinda. This was the real coronation. So Krishna became known as Govinda, the place where the Abhishek water collected is called Govinda Kund. And Bhakti Ratnakar says, anyone who takes this water on his head, he gets Govinda Prem. So in this way, this was the original Govardhan festival. This is all details from Anandaran Chavan Champu, especially from Gopal Champu. So we have a few minutes left. Maybe somebody has some questions or some doubts. I'll try to answer your questions.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'd like to also acknowledge the presence of His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj. He's also here.
Who?
His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj.
Acha. Okay, very nice.
So is there any questions? You're most welcome to ask. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for the wonderful class and pastimes of Govardhan Hill. Prabhuji, my question is, you mentioned that from this point on, Lord Krishna was known as Govinda. But in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma prays, Govinda Madipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So did the
Of
Brahma
course, Krishna's names are all eternal, of course. This is just a pastime.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anybody else would like to ask any question? If not, then maybe Prabhu, do you want to share some of your experience with your Prabhupada?
Can I share some of my experiences, what?
With the Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, this is our other favorite subject matter. So it's talking about sleeping in class. There's another thing that used to irk Prabhupada. And one time in Los Angeles Temple, in the old LA Temple, where the temple room was where the Fate Museum is now. I always used to be right on the foot of the Vyasasana whenever Prabhupada came to give class. So I was sitting there and suddenly Prabhupada's finger, he was pointing at me. And I looked, I thought maybe my dhoti was open or something. I looked, I couldn't see anything. Then I froze in a yogi position with hands on both knees. And Prabhupada shook his head, okay. Then class was going on. I should find that class. Suddenly in the middle of the class, Prabhupada looked straight at me, said, don't do that. You know how in class some people like to move their leg up and down, up and down. That's so distracting. I said, don't do that. Then in that temple room, there was a little door in the back of the temple room. And Prabhupada would come, his rooms were upstairs, so Prabhupada would come down. He would come in and walk the length of the temple room up to Gornitai. Then he'd pay the obeisance to Gornitai. Then between Gornitai and Radha Krishna, there was a pillar with Charnamrit. Green onyx pillar, very beautiful. So that morning I always made sure I was right there. So Prabhupada took Charnamrit and he looked up with this most horrible look at his face. And I was right there, so I got it. It is salt. It is salt. I didn't do it, but I was standing right there, so Prabhupada's fury came on me. Then he pays to little Radha Krishna. We didn't have big Radha Krishna at that time. Then he paid to Jagannath. He went back. And he said, who has done this? Who has done this? They brought some little bhakti in from, actually she was from Denver. I had made her devotee in Denver. But everyone likes to be in the big temple, so she came to the big temple. So she was just a little bhakta, and she came out of the kitchen, and she was shaking like a leaf. And said, if you cannot, you have no responsibility. You have no responsibility. You cannot tell what is what. You taste it first. Why have you done this? She didn't know what to say. This little bhakta said, Krishna's mercy, Prabhupada. It is not Krishna's mercy. It is your stupidity. Prabhupada was very heavy with her. And my wife, she was freaking out. She thought she's next because she gave her the service. The Prabhupada didn't call anymore. He just said, this is not your responsibility anymore. This is not Krishna's mercy, it's your foolishness. Then after a while, I never saw that bhaktan again. I guess it was so heavy, she blooped. Then one day in class, Radhanath Swami was giving a class about how if you do something good, the fame follows you. Talking about Madhavinda Puri. We didn't have time to get into Madhavinda Puri pastime. And if you do something bad, that fame also follows you. Just like there was a girl who came to New Vrindavan from LA. I won't tell her name. But she was the one who put salt in the Charnamrita. And when she walked around New Vrindavan, everybody point, oh, that's the one who put salt in the Charnamrita. So after class said, Maharaj, you have to tell me her name. I made her devotee. I thought she blooped. So then he told me her name, Chuchitra. So I don't know how much time I have. I could go on telling stories.
It all depends on you.
I got time. One time, we came to LA. I can't remember whether it was from Boulder or from, I joined in Boulder, Colorado. Then very early on, we were sent to Denver to open up a temple. I think we came from Boulder. We drove out. Rath Yatra was in San Francisco. It must have been 1972 or so, or 73. And Prabhupada was stopping in LA first, then he was going on to San Francisco. So we stopped in LA. And just that morning, speaking about Govinda, the Govinda prayer had come. And Prabhupada just loved that singing of Jamuna. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. And he ordered it to be played at Darshan Arti. I've racked my brain for many years. What we did before for Darshan Arti, I have no idea. Brahma Samhita has become the standard for so long. I can't remember at all what we used to do before there was Govinda prayers. But this was the first day it was to be played. And Prabhupada came in. And he paid his obeisances to Gornitai, took Charnamrita, paid his obeisance to little Radha Krishna. Or maybe by that time there was big Radha Krishna there. Then to Jagannath. Then he went back and he sat down. And he was singing along with the album. And we were watching. And we suddenly saw streams of tears were coming from Prabhupada's eyes. And we were so embarrassed. Who are we to be in the presence of the pure devotee? When he's experiencing ecstatic symptoms, we wanted to peel up the tiles of the floor and crawl underneath. We were so embarrassed. Streams of tears were coming down Prabhupada's eyes. Then in complete control of his senses, he made a big sniff. I can't do it. Big loud sniff into the microphone and rubbed his face like this. And at that time in our history, Prabhupada was teaching us Isopanishad mantras. He just rubbed his hands, control of his senses, he composed himself, and he began to chant. Every day we would chant one mantra more. We start with one and then two, and then Prabhupada would go back and lecture. He would start with invocation. Om Purnam Baraha Purnam Vidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. And Prabhupada was rocking back and forth, and his voice was so deep. He was like a sea captain, rocking back and forth on the boat that was taking across the ocean of Kali. And Prabhupada was our captain. It was so nice. So wonderful. Another pastime reminds me, the Upanishad pastime reminds me. They have an older god sister named Koshalya. And she told this story, I think it was 30th anniversary in Bombay or something. They brought her there. And she was like 16, 17-year-old girl, and she was traveling with the devotees all over India. And you've seen the pictures in Surat, where the devotees are covered with marigold malas. And they put saris across the street from window to window. Everybody in Surat turned out for Prabhupada's coming there. And you see the picture of the devotees, they're all covered with mala. One face right in the middle, sort of olive skin she had. That's Koshalya. And so one time, so in Surat, everybody came, but then they went into the village. Now in the city, there's so many distractions. There's cinema, beer halls, this, that, so many things. But in the village, there's nothing happening at all. So Prabhupada and the foreign Vaishnavas, the dancing white elephants came. This was big news. So the entire village, it was 60, 70,000 people in this huge pandal. So earlier that day, Kausalya, she was a 16, 17-year-old girl. She wasn't very, what we would call Vedic. And so one day, she went prancing up to Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Prabhupada, I know whole Isapanan mantras by heart." She just wanted to get some attention from Prabhupada. So she went up like that, very precocious. And Prabhupada said, "That's nice." So suddenly during this lecture in front of these 60,000 people, Prabhupada says, "And I have one lady disciple. She can chant whole Isopanishad mantra by heart." And Kausalya went, "Oh no, why did I tell him? Why did I tell him?" And then he announced in Hindi. So then Kausalya got up there on the stage. She got in front of the microphone. She looked out, 60,000 people, and she just shut her eyes and she chanted whole Isopanishad mantra in front of everyone. And after it was over, Prabhupada called her to his Vyasasana. And just like a grandfather to a granddaughter, he pulled her over this edge of the Vyasasana into his lap and was rubbing her back. Can you imagine Prabhupada rubbing her back? Oh, so wonderful pastime. He was so happy that she pulled it off. Another amazing pastime in that Los Angeles temple, in that old temple room, was one time Prabhupada came in the door and he cocked his head. It looked that looks like a swan gliding across the lake, and that profile, special profile Prabhupada has. And he said, "What is in Krishna's eye? What is in Krishna's eye?" Now, I've stood by that door. I can't even see whether little Radha and Krishna even have eyes, what to speak of what's in the eye. Krishna must have told Prabhupada. As soon as he walked in, he just looked and cocked his head. What is in Krishna's eye? Even the pujaris couldn't see. They're all running to the altar. Finally, they saw a little flake of tila had flicked off into Krishna's eye. And they cleared it out. But I can't even tell from that vector that Krishna has an eye. Amazing.
Thank you so much. So is there any other questions or comments? Maybe His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj wants to say something.
As always, we are mesmerized by the Lila Kata. And we're thankful. We are grateful. And in this way, although we're locked down, at least in Auckland, New Zealand, not the rest of New Zealand, but at the same time, we feel liberated through the sound vibration of such Braj Leela. So I offer my humble obeisances and gratitude.
Thank you, Maharaj. I'm very grateful to you.
You brought to mind one salty pastime with Prabhupada. And very instructive nectar, stern nectar. Hearing you talk about the Charanamrita and what happened to the Mataji. There was a devotee who was head of the Sanskrit department, not the notorious, who became notorious Nitai, but his understudy. And this devotee, although the BBT is based in Los Angeles and working hard on Prabhupada's seemingly endless marathon, he took off for 2 months to go stay at Radha Kund. And so upon his return, Prabhupada was in Los Angeles at New Dwarka. And so Prabhupada asked to see him because he was the main Sanskritist at the BBT because Nitai was always traveling. And so he went to see Prabhupada, and when he came out, I was right there to ask him, so what did Prabhupada say to you? He said Prabhupada looked at him and, well, this is stern, just like the Charanamrita, so I'm warning you in advance. Prabhupada looked at him and said, so, Jagannath, how was Radha Kund? Practically spit the words at him. In other words, you haven't pleased me, Krishna's devotee, and yet you think you have direct access to Radha Kund. So he was shaken, and Prabhupada knew where he was at, and 2 months later, he was gone. So soft as a rose, hard as a thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much for sharing that nectar. Is there any other questions? Or
Rumors that they're going to open up India to tourists very soon. I don't know. This rumor goes around.
That would be nice. So if there's no other comments or questions, we'll ask His Grace Nanraj Prabhu to please conclude from here. Nanraj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dhanabhar Pranam. So it's so nice of you to come back to Auckland on this forum again and give your very valuable association. We are very fortunate to be sitting down here in Auckland and doing a parikrama, a visual parikrama with you. It was so descriptive, so graphic that I was just actually like was physically visiting all the places you were mentioning and entering the you have so much deep realization and so much contact with the Dham. You're able to convey this feeling to us. He is sitting thousands of kilometers from Vrindavan. So for this, on behalf of all the devotees here in Auckland and all the Vaishnavas on this forum, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of heart to give you valuable time in association at this time. Thank you, Prabhu, and we hope you come back again and share your realization. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Giriraj Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Ki jai.
Devaram Swami ki jai.
Jai. Thank you,
Thank
Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we have Nashinga prayer. Who's singing Nashinga prayer? Are they? Are you there? Who's singing Nashinga prayer?